Operation Lucent Arrowhead, or the second Siege event. No, not you Siege. You have the main story right now. And this video will definitely be out before Operation Originium Dust's rerun. This was something I put in the script when I started writing it, and you can see how well these plans laid out. But in my defense, I was on holidays while this event was running, so I am playing a bit of catch up. Anyway, what's Lucent Arrowhead all about? Picking up some vague amount of time after Originium Dust, the story follows a new group of marketable rainbow characters and their journey to the world of Terra. Is it connected to the original at all? Not really. Other than the initial premise and the returning rainbow characters, it's pretty much entirely self-contained, which was certainly a decision that was made. Like, I get that not everyone could read the original story, but making it so disconnected kinda leaves a sour taste in my mouth. Like, the original Rainbow Operators do make an appearance in this event, but they quite literally arrive at the last moment, and you don't even get an introduction to them. Which opens up the question of, why am I covering this event first, knowing that the original is currently rerunning? I am trying to match Arknights' freak by being completely backwards with how I cover events. But let's put all that aside for now and talk about something Arknights does infinitely better than Siege: the lore. Not to drag Rainbow too much, but its own lore is pretty messy at this point. Although, in its defense, it has been going in an overall positive direction. So let's give the quickest of quick summaries on Rainbow, cause they are dedicated Siege channels if you want to learn more about it. Rainbow Six Siege follows the story, in inverted commas, of Team Rainbow, an international counter-terrorist force that recruits from experts across the world. Since then, it has become an esport in lore, cause the stadium was definitely a good direction to take the counter-terrorist game, but now Deimos has returned Siege to a counter-terrorism story once more. Not that even if you played the game, you would really know, because Siege is an online game with no real story focus, unless you count the Battle Pass comics. So the story has always taken a backseat to the game itself, which is cool in its own regards. It also makes the bar for Arknights to pass in order to produce something of similar quality to the original story quite low, and the original R6 event did it quite easily. But did the second reach this threshold? Just imagine I've placed several question marks here in my script because I want to delay the answer. The answer is of course yes. Now, not to put a downer on it, but I don't think it's as good as the original. But that can be helped as it has the Lord in it. You can't really match the Lord. So who are our isekai victims this time around? Ella, our lovely Polish trapmaster, Iana, who could have gotten a 2B skin to kill two birds with one stone, the submissive and breedable Frenchman, Doc, and our glorious Spetsnaz and hostage exterminator extraordinaire, Fuse. Anything you need to know about them is learned in the event itself or through the operator's files. So you don't need to rush to install Siege in order to learn anything about them. Just know that Fuse's cluster charges are not lore accurate, as they do not kill hostages. Also, yes, Doc and the Doctor are referenced as being a confusing situation in Doc's vice lines, and in the event, Blitz wants Doc to dress up like him in order to negotiate a raise. Any other interesting tidbits of lore from this event? Well, Docilis gets some focus. Considering that Ideal City was the last time we spent time there, it's nice to see the place again. It expands on the lore surrounding the Orc community and the slums of Docilis, which is cool, but overall not much is added. The coalition government's growing desire to control Docilis and acquire all its resources and tourism income for itself is quite interesting, and it does show us some of the growing tension within the country of Bolivar, hinted at in Jessica Alter's event, so that civil war might play out in a future series of events. Other than that, we got more confirmation that the people of Terra are simply built better than the people from Earth, with even a Duran being more than capable of physically overpowering a trained soldier. And that's right, our little mortal could genuinely solo the UFC. Also, people from Terra can just survive point-blank gunfire, which makes it easy to simply write off all the death and destruction that would have been caused by Team Rainbow. Otherwise, this story is pretty simple, as I said earlier. It's a simple fish out of water story, with the stakes only being the destruction of an entire neighborhood and a fancy building. So nothing that's crazy. Now, is it perfect? No, but it was enjoyable. Seeing Terra through the eyes of those not from Terra is a pretty cool experience, and only really able to be done through these crossover stories. Fuse and Doc stand out for this reason, typically being the ones to comment on these differences, while Ella takes the central role of serious protagonist. And honestly, Iana is just along for the ride. Techno is probably the standout new character for me, a young Duran artist just trying to make her way in the world. She's got a heart of gold and a pretty incredible design, so I hope she becomes playable in some future event. The antagonists of the story are an interesting case as well. There are two candidates for main antagonists, Matteo and Reynal. Matteo is a selfish military man looking to get rich quick by ensuring the influence of the Bolivar government spreading into Docilis. He's rather weak as far as villains go, and really doesn't have much depth to him. Reynal is a rather interesting case, however, and his motivation and morals make him very easy to sympathize with. Throughout the event, he is portrayed as a rather carefree and willful person. This is a mask he wears to cover up his childhood trauma and jaded outlook on life, and as a result, he's rather difficult to hate for me. The driving force of the story is the military attempting to take control of the slums of Docilis, as well as buy Reynal out of his land rights so that they can establish a foothold within the city. This serves to push the story along quite well, but there's more tension than that. Reynal is hosting a grand gallery opening on the same day the slums are intending to have an arts festival. Both parties, of course, want this to be the biggest event possible, so neither are willing to budge on the conflicting date. Both parties have good reasons for hosting the event on the specific day as well, an anniversary of one of the worst days of both parties' lives. For the slums, it's an anniversary of a fire that devastated the area. The community leader Diaz was once a firefighter who fought that very fire and hopes to use the art festival as a way to overcome the trauma inflicted on the community, as well as honoring those who lost their lives that day. For Reynal, it's the anniversary of his mother's death. He's just a mama's boy traumatized by the abuse both he and his mama received at the hands of his father. So his master plan is to lure art investors like his father to his gallery, where he will blow it up, destroying not only the art his mother suffered for, but the greedy people who treat art as nothing more than a way to get rich. Personally, I think therapy is a better alternative to acts of domestic terrorism, but you do you, my dude. The event opens in the same spot the original R6 event opened. Months have passed since this original Siege event occurred, however, and Team Rainbow have dispatched our beloved new operators to the bunker to search for any more clues as to the whereabouts of Ash's team. Unfortunately for our beloved operators, they are immediately transported to the world of Terra following an earthquake. They arrive in Terra in an entirely different location than the original squad, however. Bolivar, specifically Docilis, as opposed to Sargon. And no, it's never explained, but the magical isekai is not to be challenged. Moments before their arrival, a group of armed Bolivar soldiers are attempting to kidnap some of the other important characters for this event, Reynal and his bodyguard, Miwash. The quartet dropped through the roof of his gallery right in the nick of time to interrupt this furry kidnapping, using their superior weapons and tactics to overcome the numerically superior attackers. Only after successfully repelling the attack is the team allowed to be given a chance to breed. And to their shock, they discover they aren't in Kansas anymore. Hell, they aren't on Earth anymore and have been transported to a different planet. Luckily for them, they have a thankful former hostage that can fill them in on Terra. Reynal also offers them a job in the meantime while they are becoming used to life in this new world. Over the next few days, Ella is on bodyguard duty for Reynal, where his cavalier attitude with his own life almost leads her to quitting after the first day together. But she is convinced to remain working for him due to the opening of the art gallery. During this time, however, Doc and Iana are exploring Docilis, getting to see all the city while Ella and Fuse works. Doc is even shocked by the blatant display of Sancta and Sarka's racism. The duo eventually stumble upon Techno and she suffers an oripity attack in front of them, but thanks to the timely intervention of Doc, she is saved. This is Team Rainbow's first exposure to infection, so they aren't sure what's wrong with her, but Doc's lack of fear towards her condition makes Techno think very highly of him. They also help Techno get back to the slum, where they are treated quite well, all things considered. Unfortunately for the slums and Team Rainbow, the military hasn't quite given up on Reynal and the slums. Reynolds technically holds the right to the land and is being a pain by not selling it to them, so Captain Mateo hopes to shift the situation to his favor by pitting the two groups against each other. He does this by organizing the theft of vital infection medication heading to the slums. This is where Catapult and Tequila enter the story, being in charge of the delivery, and shortly after entering Docilis, they are ambushed by the military. The medicine is successfully stolen, and Mateo even had his soldiers disguise themselves as Team Rainbow to stoke the flames. Unfortunately for Mateo, Tequila is a potential candidate for replacing the current mayor of Docilis, Candela, so he needs to act fast to dispose the evidence, choosing to plant it in a warehouse owned by Reno. The knowledge of this event comes to light while Doc and Iana are in the slums, so they are confronted by Diaz. This is of course a very serious situation. Infected are overrepresented in the slums of cities after all, so before they are attacked, Iana and Doc make a quick getaway, finally escaping the slums with the help of Techno. Following the incident though, both Team Rainbow and the slums, aided by Rhodes Island, investigate the warehouse independently. Arriving around the same time, Catapult and Tequila explore the main floor while Techno takes out the guard on watch duty. Unfortunately for her, Fuse is sent to look for the guard after the lights are cut out, finding Techno hiding the guard's body. Unfortunately for Fuse, he didn't realize Techno was built like that and was knocked out. Kinda embarrassing, I can't lie. While attempting to dispose of the unconscious body, Techno is discovered by Doc, which sums up most of my experience playing Metal Gear and Splinter Cell. Ella believes that the group are there to steal from Reno, but Tequila is able to convince her to interrogate the delivery man, who turns out to be one of Mateo's soldiers, so the misunderstanding is cleared up. Following this little incident, Team Rainbow take up residency in the slums. Ella explains the situation to Reno during an art auction he was interested in. Side note to the overall story, but Reno was bidding on a small music box, something he could have gotten extremely cheaply, relatively speaking anyway. Instead of taking his winnings at a low cost, he bets against himself to ensure it reaches a price he views the box as being worth. This little box was something his mother made for him prior to her death, with a simple lullaby being all that was placed inside it, composed specifically for him. So, despite Ella's opinion of him not valuing art, he has his own specific values on how art should be treated. During his conversation with Ella, he requests her to learn more about what the art community is planning for their event, simply because he is interested in their art form. While in the slums, Team Rainbow works to ingratiate themselves to the residents. Doc opens his own temporary clinic and gives out free treatment to everyone in the slums using the medicine they retrieved. Ella, on the other hand, is assisting Techno with setting up the slum's biggest attraction for the art festival, a pair of giant dancing puppets. So large that once constructed, these puppets can be seen from all over Docilis. And with the two working together, they succeed in getting them working, and their initial dance attracts attention from all over Docilis. The day after this, the slums are flooded with reporters crowding around trying to get the scoop. It genuinely seems like there may be more grassroots support for this little community than there is for Reynolds' gallery opening. Even Reynolds is a little upset that the dates of the two events are clashing, as he would very much like to go and see it. Mateo decides to reach out to Reynolds in regards to the current events occurring in the slums. Mateo, of course, wants to deal with the slums in order to ensure he gets a hold of the land, and Reynolds just wants to be free of Mateo. So Reynolds baits Mateo into sending soldiers into the slums under the pretense of a fire safety inspection, hoping that the slum residents will derail his plans. However, Mateo has gained reinforcements from the government and they want results. So, upon entering the slums, they round up the citizens. Many do escape, but they aren't here to detain them. The soldiers begin destroying their homes, the art exhibits, and they ruin the giant puppet dancers, tearing the pair apart. Techno is part of the group that escapes and returns with Team Rainbow, but the damage has been done by the time they arrive. Luckily for Techno, a drive containing the design of the puppets exists, so Techno and Doc attempt to find it. A soldier attempts to ambush them, but an enraged Techno hits him with an absolute peak line, Vete a la chingada, or go fuck yourself in English, and knocks him out. The drive had already been taken by the soldiers, however, and Techno threw herself from the 4th floor in order to prevent them from damaging it. She gets an ungodly beating from the soldiers due to this, but Doc manages to defuse the situation by threatening to shoot the soldiers. So, the slum residents are effectively homeless now, with the soldiers essentially destroying everything, and are pretty down on their luck. Ella confronts Raynal about the event, learning that he egged the captain on in regards to attacking the slums. Even with Doc treating everyone's injuries, things aren't looking good for them. Techno's dominant hand has been severely injured to the point that Doc doesn't believe she'll ever be able to paint with it again, and Mateo dispatched instigators to fan the flames of the community into attacking Raynal's gallery, hoping to profit off the two groups, justifying military intervention. Team Rainbow suspects this plot, but Diaz insists on leading a protest group over to the gallery anyway. All while this is going down, Raynal has started his gallery opening, and he has a wonderful new invention to show the world: NFTs. No, I'm not joking. Arknights got NFTs now. Well, not really, as it is just Raynal taking the piss out of the Ark community, but his guests don't take too kindly to him mocking them, and Raynal had even decided to use Mateo as the basis for Terra's first NFT. Mateo is of course pissed at this and uses the approaching slum residents as justification to take everyone present hostage. The soldiers then begin to rob the place blind, hoping to get a big payday before the night is over. However, Rhodes Island's very own Tequila is present and has uncovered the bombs Raynal has planted in the building. He contacts Catapult, who informs Team Rainbow and Diaz about the plan. Diaz decides that they must rescue the hostages, and so they begin the rescue mission. The group split up to defuse all 4 bombs located in the building, but during this, Diaz is captured. Ella, of course, chases after him, but is cornered by soldiers. However, before they can stop her, the original Team Rainbow from Originium Dust make their appearance. Mateo, realizing his time is up, tries to convince Raynal to give him a way out. Raynal, of course, refuses, being more than willing to die as he planned to blow himself up from the start. Mateo beats him viciously for his refusal, but it's no use. Ella blasts a hole in the wall, and Team Rainbow proceed to beat down Mateo. As the final bomb is located in Raynal's office, it's about to go off, and the team escape from the roof using jetpack gliders made by Closure. Raynal, however, decides to unclip his glider and fall to his death, unsure whether the ground or his pool awaited him below. Miwash, however, saves him using his arts, ensuring Raynal survives the fall. Ella is well and truly sick of his shit by this point and decides beating his ass is the most effective remedy for his behavior. After the disaster that was the whole gallery incident, Mateo and Raynal are both punished for their crimes. Mateo is sent to jail and Raynal gets deported. Before he leaves, Raynal transfers control of everything not seized by Docilis over to Diaz, and then willingly accepts his fate. Miwash comes to his aid again, however, knocking out the guard escorting Raynal, and the two go into exile together. Diaz then turns the gallery into a barbecue place and holds a celebration alongside Team Rainbow, rounding out our event, with Techno even learning to paint with her left hand. So all's well that ends well. So overall, the event is pretty cool. Is it peak fiction? No, but not everything needs to be. Once again, Mateo is kinda ass when it comes to being the final boss. Like, he's just a bum military man. Raynal would have made a much better final boss in terms of having an interesting antagonist, but that wasn't the direction Arknights took. Other than that, I quite like the side cast. Techno, Raynal, Diaz, they were all pretty cool. And it was nice to see Catapult and Tequila in this event. It's a surprising duo to be sure. Catapult was kinda just there, but Tequila on the other hand was actually getting quite involved with stuff. And the build-up surrounding him and Candela is very interesting. Makes me wonder if we're going to be seeing a Tequila altar in the future. Miwash is pretty much just a Raynal simp. Listen, it's okay. Your boyfriend, he's fine. Listen, it's okay to like your boyfriend, just don't help him commit acts of domestic terrorism. But him walking to convince Ella to be on Raynal's side does make me like him quite a lot. And even when Raynal has nothing to offer him, he comes to his aid, which is potentially setting up a future storyline. But who knows? Probably not. Our main cast is a mixed bag for me. I don't outright dislike anyone, but they could have been developed better. Although, with the whole being a collab thing, that's probably an unreasonable demand. Iana, despite being a banner unit, doesn't really have much of a highlight put on her. The big moment where she uses her hologram in the climax is more of a world building piece, literally showing off a film made by a Sarkaz about a killer Sancta, but at least she got a sick CG out of it, so she's got that going for her. Doc got plenty of good character moments as the straight man to a lot of jokes, and him arguing about the correct pronunciation of croissant genuinely made me crack up. It is simply not something that could happen outside of a collab, so I'm glad they made good use of it. Fuse was also fairly active in regards to aiding Ella and his team during this event, and his distinctive distinctive look, Frodo separates him from the cast, much like T'Chaka before him. However, he's not the Lord, unfortunately. Ella is pretty cool, and her relationship with Rennell does make her quite compelling. She's not the perfect protagonist, but we get to see her conflicted mind as she's forced to choose between her job and her morals. This is surprisingly enough something she also kind of did in Rainbow, where she chose Nighthaven over Team Rainbow. So it's kind of nice to see them taking notes from some of the good Siege lore here. Other than that, the event was solid, and if it ever reruns, you should read it. Otherwise, there are websites or I'm sure YouTube videos where you can find the full story. And so I am passing it over to you. What would you have changed? What would you have not changed? Leave your comments or your thoughts in the comments down below. Y'all be good people, and I will talk to you in the next one. So thank you all for 1k subs, 1000 subscribers, 1000 lore enjoyers. I appreciate it. That is all. That's all I can say. I appreciate it. Be good people. Be great people even.